Now, just a little important caveat to go along with this video is that I will be performing a mock funeral to old fallen kinsmen from way back when. I would never film the funeral or stream it or do anything like that, because I find that that's extremely disrespectful to the family and to the gathered kin. So we won't be filming a real funeral here. It'll be a mock funeral that I set up just to explain the steps in the process and make it visually pleasing to the people. Now, the only exception I think to that would be is if I went to perform a funeral rite for someone and the family asked me to film it. In that case, then we would maybe talk about the rules and stuff that go along with that. But for the most part, these are the kind of things that you probably don't have a lot of instruction on or get to see a lot, because I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to film it and be disrespectful to the family. So that being said, let's get on with the video. If you're going to be performing a funerary service for someone, you should kind of dress the part. Now, I know there's mixed feelings, and everybody's got their own little interpretation on how you should or shouldn't dress for ritual, and we do sometimes, we dress for ritual and sometimes we don't. But if I'm performing a funeral or a wedding or some sort of a service like that, I almost always want to look the part. It helps people get into the mood a little bit better, and it helps you stand out as someone who knows what's going on. It's unfortunate, but if I was up here in blue jeans and a t-shirt, I would look like a hack. If we were going to open the ceremony, I'm going to do this out of my book, because I do suggest that, especially if you haven't done one before, that you have some sort of notes or something. So I'm going to read the script that I wrote just for this purpose. Now, we don't actually have anybody to bury here, but I'm going to use the name of a fallen kinsman who is a part of everything that we do here, and that's Herger, Andy, and you probably heard that name many times on some of our summals and other different things. But he's definitely a part of this kindred now and forever. And so we're just going to do this funerary service like we did for him. So I'm using a cat as the effigy to represent our kinsman Herger. So now it's just opening the ceremony. Welcome, family, friends, and fellow Asatru. My name is Gothi Bodvar. I am an ordained Asatru clergy and have been asked by the family to facilitate the transition of our beloved kinsman Herger over the Bifrost Bridge to the next world. We have gathered here today to honor the life of Herger, who has recently started the journey to the afterlife. As a community, we have come together to mourn our loss and celebrate the memories we shared with Herger. At this time, I would like to ask you to silence your cell phones, that we may respect the sanctity of this space and the wishes of our community and those here in attendance. So this is ritual actions. Gothi lights the candle, calls on the spirits of the four directions, north, south, east, and west, to bless the ceremony. This hallowing can be done from the pulpit by facing each direction when it is invoked. Remember to bring a compass. Now, we're in our established Vey, but if I was anywhere else in the world, I would break out a compass and make sure that I know what's what. Behind me is north. But you kind of want to have the directions down if you're going to be doing this opening the way that I do the opening. The fire's lit and whatnot. I'm going to want to add a little bit more smoke to the ceremony. If I haven't had any candles lit at this point, this is where I'll light them. Of course, we have one going here, and then we have our fire there. And to open the ceremony, I will tell the people in attendance, I'm now going to open the ceremony to the four corners, and I'm going to ask that they come and protect us and bless this space while we are focused on honoring our kinsman Herger. Holy forces of the north, I ask you to come forth, form a shield wall to protect this sacred space. Holy forces to the east, I ask you to come forth, form a shield wall, and protect this sacred space. Holy forces of the south, I ask you to come forth, form a shield wall, and protect this sacred space. Holy forces to the west, I ask you to come forth, form a shield wall, and protect this sacred space. And now, taking for granted that I'm speaking to people who don't know what we're talking about here, I'll say, now we have a book in the Nordic faith that is called the Havamal, and it's supposed to be the words of the High One, Odin himself, written down many thousands of years ago. From that, we have the individual stanzas relating to the death of a kinsman. Cattle die, kinsmen die. You will also die someday, but fame never dies for the one who earns it. Cattle die, kinsmen die, you will also die someday. One thing that never dies is the judgment of the dead. Now I'll pour the horn of mead, beer, wine, honey, milk, whatever we have, whatever our libation is. Hail the gods and goddesses of our folk. Hail the spirits of this land that we share. Hail to the folk that have gathered here with us today, and hail to our lost but beloved kinsman, Herger. We thank you for your guidance and protection for this ceremony here today, and we ask that you bless us with wisdom as we try to honor and put into words our love and compassion for our kinsman, Herger. We ask that you offer aid and comfort to our kinsman Herger on his journey to the land of our ancestors. We also ask that you lend us the words to be able to explain how much he means to us. We ask that you lift the weight, however brief, during the time of this ceremony, so that we may focus on Herger and the things that we can do to help aid and speed his transition to the halls of our ancestors. Hail to our holy hosts. Valfather Odin, I ask that you cast open the doors to your high hall to receive our fallen kinsman Herger, that you greet him at the gate as you are wont to do for your most honored guests. Hail to the patron of the slain. Hail Odin. Goddess Hela, keeper of the dead and gracious host to our ancestors, guide our kinsman Herger to his ancestral home. Lead him down that well-worn path to the halls of our people within your domain. Hail to the queen of the realm of the dead. Hail, Hela. Great and beautiful watchman, Heimdall, our patron, I ask that you keep one eye fixed on our beloved kinsman as he travels the underworld looking for his place. Guide him on his journey, that he may make swift work of his travels to the halls of the ancestors. Hail the watchman of the gods. Hail our patron. Hail Heimdall. So you can continue in this manner with any other number of gods and goddesses that you think should be invoked at the funeral for your kinsman. And after you've invoked all the gods, goddesses, spirits, whatever you want to, the last toast will go directly to our fallen kinsman. This is the one made by the Gothi, so everybody else has an example to follow. Kinsman, Herger, we wish you a speedy journey home to the halls of our ancestors. May your travels be swift and your load be light on your journey. May you arrive in the halls of our ancestors to find a plate full of food, a horn full of mead, hugs and warm welcomes from all that have gone before us. Hail to the traveler. Hail to our kinsman. Hail Herger. And so now this is the point where the Gothi will eulogize the dead. Herger, kinsman. Herger was a beloved member of our community and our kindred. He had this ability to make light of every situation, even those that he probably shouldn't be making light of. Herger contributed greatly to our shared belief and practice, and he will be sorely missed by all in this kindred and all that knew him. Hail Herger. Now it's important to note that I made that a short statement, but it doesn't have to be short. You can speak from the heart and you can speak as long as you want, and so can everybody else. If you have something to say, make sure it gets said. And at this point, this is where we can have I would suggest a big bag of like tea light candles or something, and I would say something along the lines of, in order to show our love and gratitude to Herger, we're going to light candles and then eulogize his passing. And in which case I would light one large candle and leave a bowl of tea light candles, and they can light each one off of the big candle before they give their eulogy to the fallen. And then the next step would be something right out of the book. If anybody would like to share their memories and stories of Herger, I ask that you light a candle, place it on the altar, and then speak from the heart about some memory or something that you would like to share with everybody here about the fallen. Let us all honor his memory by sharing the impact that he had on each of us individually. And feel free to share any stories or memories that define Herger's contribution to your life and friendship. I would ask that after you share your story, pour a drink to Herger and say hail. You can hand this to them. They can speak their mind, pour the drink, and then hand it back to you. Or you can let them talk and then hand it to them when they do their hail and hand it back to you. Either way, you should maintain control of it for most of the time. And don't forget, have extra libation. They will pour it all out. So now that we've shared how important he was to us and the impact that he had on our lives, now let's all take a moment of silence for 9 breaths, representing the 9 worlds. And let's reflect on the impact that Herger had, not only on each of us individually, but collectively on us as a community within this room. May Herger's memory live on, collectively, in the stories that we share and in our hearts, forever and ever. Now, after that 9-breath pause, it's a good time to end it, or this is a good place to include works such as singing or poetry or anything else that needs to get done that I discussed. As we near the end of this ritual, I want to ask you all to remember the words that were shared here today. Everyone that came in brought an individual piece of Herger with them, and we've shared it, and now when we leave, we have a more complete picture of just how miraculous he was and the lives and the people that he touched when he was here with us. I thank the gods for attending this, for watching over us, for taking part in it, and for guiding our kinsmen home. Hail to the gods of the northern folk. Hail to our kinsman Herger. And hail to the journey that we will all make in the future. I sound this horn as a symbol to Heimdall that another of our beloved kinsmen will be crossing the Bifrost. Let him sound the Galahorn to signal to the gods that another of the folk here on Midgard are arriving at their ancestral home. Hail. Hail Herger. So at this point, if we used a candle table, I would extinguish the candles, I would put the fire out, I would do all those other things that need to get done in order to square the area away, if they can be done quickly. Possibly even I'll just let the candles burn until they burn out. Depending on the circumstance, I'll let you make that decision for yourself. But the last thing that I would do is I would provide any follow-on instructions that the family asked me to pass before I can close the ceremony. So I'm just going to read it right out of the book. I just kind of wrote one as an example to myself. So keep good notes, write these examples to yourself, and then just kind of speak from the heart. But what I have is, the family would like me to invite you all to the catered dinner at the UAW Hall on Main Street, courtesy of the Smith family Kindred. They ask that you resist the temptation to send flowers or gifts and prefer that you make donations instead. There's a GoFundMe account set up to help pay funeral expenses and settle some of the outstanding debts left behind by Herger. All of the important details are in the back of your program. I would like to thank you all for attending, and I bid you all a good and safe journey home. And at this point, I could invite anybody that wanted to follow me outside, where I would pour this dedication to, if this was indoors, I would have them follow me outside. If we're already outside, then I would do it like we do here, and I would say, to all the gods, goddesses, and people in attendance, I thank you for your contributions and for being here as we say goodbye to our beloved kinsman and usher him on to the halls of our ancestor. Hail the gods and goddesses, hail Herger, and hail the gathered folk. This ritual has ended. And one last thing. In most rituals, we would use this sprig of evergreen in order to bless the gathered folk. Now, we may not do that at a funeral. You could write your own program. But the evergreen is a symbol of everlasting life. So what we would generally do is we would put this with the body, either before it goes to the crematorium or before it's committed to the earth, or if this is kind of a funeral with an open casket, then we would definitely take a piece of evergreen and we would lay it maybe on the chest of the deceased so that they can take that with them as a symbol that they will live on forever in us.